7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We should be completely live. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Let's see.
You live, Ron.
Yes, I see it. I'm just making sure we are not. I was trying to make sure I don't have the sound. All right, good night, everybody. Good night, good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. Another entertaining night, full of real conversation with fathers of all ilks and stations. I'm Dr. Ron Osborne Williams, the Fatherhood Think Tank curator. We're going to really get into a very interesting topic tonight, one that I think is imperative if we have children today, even and not just for our children, but for our spouses and for ourselves. We are really seeing a new epidemic occur. We may not even recognize it, we may not even acknowledge it, but a new epidemic occurring in our society. So tonight we will be discussing this. Right now, if you haven't done so, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you can always get this interesting conversation that we have every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock roughly. Tonight we have look like we have a lot of heavy hitters in here, so I'm going to let them get right to introducing themselves, and then we're going to come back to our topic for tonight. So, heavy hitters, what you got for me?
Elder Thomas Alberry. This coming June will be 50 years. My wife and I have a grown son who's married and a grown daughter. And I have 7 grandkids, 2 young gentlemen and 5 young ladies. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Larry Jordan. 2 grown children, 1 grandson. I'm not a heavy hitter. I'm just heavy.
All right.
All right. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young ladies, 4 young men, 1 grandson, and 1 granddaughter. And it's always a pleasure to be here.
Good evening, brothers. Good evening, everyone. Brother Johnny Gaspard. I'm father to 2 beautiful kids, a 25-year-old young lady who is now officially going to be off my insurance soon, but she can get lower car insurance when she rent a vehicle now, and and a 21-year-old young man who is definitely doing great things and expecting great things from him. So excited to be here to discuss this topic that impacts so many of our children and many of our adults as well. So looking forward to it.
J. Rob Bernard. Good evening, everybody. Father to 2 young adults.
Pedro Carlos, father of 3 and 1 grandson.
Good evening, everyone. Donald Jones, father of 1 adult daughter and 2 teenage children, a daughter and a son, recently divorced.
I think that
Jay and Travis, they're the only 2 left to introduce
Oh,
themselves.
I was gonna say, yeah, Jay and Travis.
My fault. I'm on my son's track meet. I'm Justin Gibbs. I'm a father. I call it 4.5. Missing. I have a 12-year-old son, 9-year-old daughter, I have a soon-to-be 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old daughter, and my youngest just turned 1 today. So I have now from an infant to a child. I'm always here to enjoy my time with you gentlemen.
Yeah, we just heard Jay got a lot of kids. They young.
Oh, y'all can't hear me? I wasn't loud enough?
Now we heard you.
We heard
Okay.
you.
You was
I'm
muffled,
Mr.
but we
Brady
heard you.
Bunch. I'm Mr. Brady Bunch. You can call me that.
Brady Bunch.
All right, the only person is Travis. Travis look like what you doing, Travis? He doing something, Ron.
Oh, okay. I thought he was doing the
Dr. Ron getting the shit out.
I didn't okay, Elder Thomas again. Okay. So this is I would say, I think we don't really realize when we're on the other end if it's bad signal that we have, right? I was on a radio show a Saturday ago, and I listened to the rebroadcast, and I thought the lady was just being kind of aggravating with me, but then I listened to the replay, and I realized that, oh my God, sometimes you gotta make sure you're in the right place. Cause I sound like 1 minute I was on a Lightborn sermon, and then just went from me given the knowledge to just peanut classroom, peanut Charlie Brown peanut classroom. And the
Technology
lady
will
was
do
like,
that to you.
we're gonna come back, we're gonna come back, we're gonna come back. And I was, it was a rough conversation. Matter of fact, it was actually about not about this, but it was about parenting and some of the biases to fathers in the court system. Anyway, and if you want to go check that out, go WBIA New York Radio. You can check out that. It's a radio show is the sexual abolitionist, Frenchie Davis. All right, that's a shameless plug for Frenchie Davis. And WBIA in New York. You can always look them up. So tonight's topic, let's see, boy, I wonder if they're public radio station, so they're not gonna give us any kickback. So scratch that idea. So tonight's topic is social media. Social media, and if you see the pin there that I put on there, I was intentional, the new crack. And the picture kind of really sold the topic for the night, because when looking at that picture, if you are working not just around children, not just working around everyday people, no matter where you're at, you see that people are very disconnected from each other, from human communication, human connection, and really are focused on their devices. And if you ever, like I do, nosy guy that I am, I ride the bus and walk around restaurants, and I kind of just look over people's shoulders and see what they're looking at. And most of the time, I mean, I know that I'm really snoopy and nosy, but I'm just curious why people are so, what are they stuck on? And especially with students that I have in school, and I'm not looking at anything a lot of times. They're just doing like this. And I was thinking, what are they getting out of this? But it is coming, what I would say, social media, different apps are almost becoming like a very serious, dangerous drug. And it's interesting how that affects us as fathers, how it affects us as leaders of our families, are the models of our family, how it affects our relationships with our partners and our children, and the mothers of our children. So I use all of those terms, and sometimes how it even affects us in the day society. So when we're looking and thinking about that, I'm so intrigued to hear the conversation that we're going to have today, and I know people are going to bring it from so many different points of view today, because this is a very common topic, something that is present. It's something that we're dealing with every day right now, and I would love to hear what fathers have to say about it tonight. So don't be shy. Just put your bat up and start to swing.
Well, I'm a swing first. First up to the plate, Brother Johnny Gaspar, Esquire. My thing, you with social media, you could take it from so many different aspects, from our children and their attachment, not just to social media, but to their phones, period. I mean, we've seen so many things on television where children are literally attacking staff members, teachers, because they took their phone away. Not because they did anything or said anything to them, but because they wouldn't give them back their phones. They're so attached to it, and the phone is part of social media. It's how they live today. This is their livelihood. This is how they stay connected to their friends, because this is what they know. Most of us on here grew up in a time where, one, you didn't even have a cell phone, and two, you definitely didn't have access. You didn't know what your friend across the street was doing unless you talked to him every day or saw him at the park or saw him at school. Now, if they don't know what their friend did 5 minutes ago in the Spanish class at the same time, they're upset. So that's one thing. And then I'm an owner of a small private school. We have about 55 kids. And when I tell you, I had to put instill a rule that they had to turn their phone in at the beginning of school. Because if anything happened in the school, it was on social media before we even knew it happened, because it happened at lunch or it happened in one of the classes, and it was already on social media before we even had an opportunity as a staff to address the issue. So here it is, it's out there. You can't even deal with it. Now you have parents and people calling you, and you're like, what are y'all talking about? Oh, you haven't seen it yet? It's on, you're like, what are you, it's on Twitter. And there you go, looking sadly incompetent when that's not even the case. So we literally instilled a rule where we took their phones away from them to make sure they, one, stay focused in class, and two, didn't have, because a lot of times with the phone, they instigate these situations to create views, to create something to go viral. So sadly, that's another negative from our students, because it forces them or pushes them in the mindset that they need to do something to be seen, because that's the goal, is how do I go viral? And sometimes it's a danger to themselves, to their families, to their friends, that they're trying to be seen. But even as adults, and I'm speaking personally, sometimes I get caught up on social media, just what they call a rabbit hole. Like, I'll start watching one thing and it just spirals out. The next thing you know, I turn around, I've been on it 2 hours. I'm like, what in the world? And as an adult, you feel the worst, because I just wasted my time. That's your mindset. So I think that's the whole gist of all of that. And in those 2 hours, my wife turns around and said, so when I'm gonna get some time with you? Because you've been also, so here I am, impacted my marriage, impacted my mental health, because I've been watching a bunch of stupidness on social media and just not using my time wisely. And again, that's speaking from me as a professional adult. So again, I just think it has it's good, but it definitely has its bad when it's abused, whether by children or by us as adults.
Johnny, I think you make a valid point when you say that it depends on how it's being used, because social media is like everything else, is like a tool, right? So how you use the tool is gonna be the impact that you're gonna have. I think that we've given kids the social media without giving them instruction. And as I was looking at that, and I think I thought about it even more, and I'll tell you what made me think about it even more. The fact that Congress can get together and pass the fact to ban TikTok almost unanimously like that, means there's something to it, right? And then it makes you start to think well, what is it that they're afraid of? And I think they're afraid of the education that people are getting from social media. the livelihood that people are getting from social media. When you're using it correctly and not falling down that rabbit hole, it's very educational. You'll find more people saying, I learned more, and I find this to be true. I learned more on TikTok, on Instagram than I've learned in my 4 years of college, right? Because the education that you look for and that you get from this from the social media, it can be very impactful, and it allows you to see the here and now, right? So and I'll tell you one thing that really opened my eyes to that. There's a few things, but one big thing was when they started talking about the impact of police brutality with the Black community. When social media started to hit, right, you're now saying, man, it's not isolated to Broward. It's not isolated to Dade. It's all over the place, and everybody's impacted the same way and treated this unjustly, right? So now it creates a bigger platform for people to start showing the unjustness and unfairness. So a collective can be formed, right?
Boy.
Does that mean that we're not guilty for falling down the rabbit hole from time to time? Yes, we are. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but 9 out of 10 times, if you're using it and you're setting up, because everything is based on the algorithms, and you'll find yourself that if you start to look at certain things, your feed starts being populated more with it, right?
Yeah, man.
And the minute you shift, they start throwing a lot of trash your way. And then you got to get it back to feeding the educative side. So it's like I said, it's a tool that allows you to broaden your thinking, broaden your scope, and understand more of a universal concept than just an individualized concept to where you are. So I think it's powerful when used properly, but it's deadly if you use it badly.
Good job, Ron.
Yeah. You know, let me, you know, it's funny. Both Johnny, I definitely understand the issue in reference to school and what happens. I'm dealing with that on a daily basis, almost to the point that I think I will probably be by June be completely gray. No black at all. And people calling me old. I'm 75 years old, something I don't know. And Gene really gives us the crust of why this happened, what's going on in this idea that makes it frustrating. A young lady, I seen her and I asked her, I seen her on the phone, flipping flu. And I said, well, why are you wasting time doing that? There's something else we need to be doing, you could be doing. And then a little bit after that, she came to me and asked me something about the weather. And I said to her, don't you have a phone? And it really dawns on me that the utilization of phones are not to, and like Gene said, not to the benefit of them. It is to our detriment. The phone, all of the devices, even when I was working in Jacksonville at the school, people had their phones, so I switched the academics to their phone, and people was like, how am I gonna look this up? I said, with the two apps over from Instagram, call Google. That's how you look it up. And they're like, on YouTube? I said, no, on Google. Google, you can go look it up on Google. It's there. It's probably the main app that's for your whole phone. But again, I think really to Gene's point, we are giving technology without giving instructions on how to best be beneficial to use to expand what we have. I mean, it's a great idea. Most of the parents who argue they need that, like I've talked on the phone with so many parents, and Johnny, that system, I know that you implemented it, taking them when they walk in the door. They listen. I told they have a pouch system here.
Yeah.
Where they in the pouch, but the kids already figured out how to listen. They come in, they put the phone in the pouch, they get the hand the phone back, and before they get to the stairway to go up the steps, the phone is out because they done did a pop, 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 and it clicked right open. And so it's almost like, why are we wasting manpower or doing any of that, having people even search and do the phone if all they're gonna do is pop and that's like, but I even suggested that, and I will suggest this again next year, that instead of having the pouch, just build like they have in Philadelphia. If you go into the courthouse, they have lockers.
Yep.
Everybody who goes in the courthouse in Philadelphia, no matter who you are, got to put your phone in a locker. And you get a key. So they got thousands of lockers in the front of in the entrance of there. So if you don't, you put your phone in there, you get your key, you go about, and it ain't nothing you can do. You can't answer no phone, you ain't gonna take no pictures. Ain't none of that stuff happening in the courtroom there. So you're gonna have to end up, I told them, hey, y'all spend the money instead of buying $1 million pouches, build a wooden thing for both sides in the entrance of the school, about 700 to 800 on each side, and just they get the key, they put it in, and then the argument was this. Oh, all day during the day they would come down there and clog up the front of the school for security, saying they need to do something on their phone, get done. Yeah, well, you can't. Because the parent, and I only say that because every parent I've talked to about phone use say take it away and give it back to them at the end of the day. Yeah. They only got the phone because I need to know where they are. Correct. Because they travel to and from school and here and there and deal things. But as far as anything else, they don't need it. The parents, some of the parents, they don't need the phone. But the parents also not about to get into that battle because it's not their battle, it's your battle. It should be their battle, but it becomes your battle at the school. And so it comes, as Johnny said, as administrators, as staff, as the school climate, we have to find a way to resolve that because, it is an issue.
Ron, you probably really need social media because these are some terrible ideas I'm hearing from you guys. Very terrible ideas because I'm sitting here like, nah, okay, I'm on social media a lot for a different reason though. I'm on social media.
Give us your point of view. Give us your point of view, brother.
Well, I'm on social. I like social media because, you know how they be saying level the playing field? Yeah. I think social media does that. And so with the pros and cons of it, I'm like, can it be addictive? Yes. But can it be a very good advocacy tool? Yes.
For sure.
Both has been equally proven. I think back to your, I'm gonna start with Ron's point, then I'm gonna work my way back to J. Rob's point, and then I'll just give my point. Ron, to your point, they have actually have technology that you can actually shut down any cell phone going out. They got technology that can literally kill that cell phone. I mean, literally a box that could just kill it within a certain spot radius.
Today in the conversation I had about my class for next year, I'm going to invest in that for my own class.
Yeah, you can literally.
I'm going to invest in that for I don't care what the rest of the school do, but I will go and purchase my own shutdown box. And I said that will solve the problem for my class. I don't know about anybody else's class. If the administrator don't want to do anything, I have my own little box, and I will shut it down because it's just a hindrance to academic instruction. It just is.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It don't seem like. Don't seem like the school's too damn. Don't seem like the school's too informed if they're buying pouches. And there's technology out there that can actually correct the problem.
Well, that's the school district.
You buying pouches.
You remember now. You're talking about school districts. Now Johnny probably wouldn't do that for his school because he has a complete control. But the school district trying to get a kickback on that whole pouch system in the first place.
I don't think they're really serious about it because I'm like, listen, everybody know there's technology out there that can regulate cell phones. We all know that. But why haven't you bought one box as opposed to trying to buy 100,000 pouches? One box per school as opposed to 10,000 pouches per school. I mean, the math just ain't mapping for me. But I heard somebody say that's so cool. I heard that on social media too. But with that, J-Rob's point, about the outlawing the TikTok. I heard one guy, again on social media, gave one argument because the best thing about arguments it allows people to get straight to the point. And I think the danger about TikTok is they actually, TikTok is first and Twitter is second when it makes you get straight to the point. They do the awards, they put the award music time on you. You better get your speech out in 30 seconds or a minute, and that's it. And so that's the best part about social media, and particularly TikTok and Twitter as well. The problem with that also, and more so with TikTok and Twitter, this guy made this one point. He said, if the Chinese government won't allow American social media in their country, why should we allow Chinese, the government, their product in our country?
Correct.
And when I said, that's it. Just an argument. I'm like, he just wondered. I'm like, all right, good. I got your understanding now. Now you're making sense. It's not a lot. I don't like long, drawn out argument. Just give me a solid ass point, and that's it. And then just shut it down. And so with that, that's what I love. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. It's a lot of twerking on there too. I mean, that catch my eye sometimes. It's a distraction, but
the truth is saying the devil.
It's a lot of twerking. But I learned how to twerk myself. But it is again, everything like anything has its own distraction. I think it's a very level playing field, because you're seeing the social media that people who's determined and who's trying to get a message out there, and that's where the trending thing comes from. I think if you put in the work and try to get your message out, and that's the thing, because you don't even have to be a professional. True. It depends on who has the best messaging. And so what I think it did is redefine the way we market. And so you're finding out that where you used to need, back 30 years ago, where you used to need a marketing firm to do a certain thing, it cuts the marketing dollars in half, if not alleviates. And so it depends. It's a very powerful tool. Yes, very powerful. I could say we should teach our kids how to use it, but I'm like, well, why are we gonna teach our kids how to use something they're teaching us how to use?
Well, I don't think I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's really about teaching them how to use it. Right. It's really about teaching them about the benefits and the negatives of it. I think that's more so where you go with it. It's just like, and I'll use the term, it's just like sex. To me, it is anyway, because it's something that, as far as kids, you naturally are drawn to do it, but you don't really know what the benefits and the negatives are of it. So unless we as adults are willing to share with them those things, they are literally finding them out on their own, and unfortunately at times become victims, as we all know, as to what social media can do, become victims of both the addiction of some other perpetrator that's out there trying to drag our kids into this. So I think it's not necessarily about teaching them how to use it. I think it's more so just about teaching them the pros and the cons of it, and how to best get the best out of it versus letting it take advantage of you. And I think that's more so what I would be thinking about as a parent, teaching my child how to use it, not necessarily the actual use of it. Because like you said, half of the time I'm calling my daughter to tell me how to do something on TikTok. Like the other day, I got a case right now and I got to pull some video and I need her to chop it up and do something for me. And she's like, all right, Dad, let me show you how to do a cap cut. I'm like, cap cut? What is that? So stuff like that. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Half of the time they're the ones teaching us how to actually use it anyway. But I think that from J. Rao's perspective, yes, us giving them this tool of social media, and again, it comes with the phone. So it's not even something necessarily, I mean, we as parents can monitor it to some degree because they do have to download it. And if we those type of parents should be checking our kids' phones regularly. But even if they're not on their own phone, they have access to their friends' phones. They have access to a computer. I have a case right now where the judge had my client on complete lockdown, and he's not allowed to access certain things. And the prosecutor wanted to take his phone away. I said, yeah, but he still has online school to go to. Right. And what's on the computer? Access to the internet, because he needs the internet to be able to access online school. So I think it's really about us being more diligent as parents to help our children not get caught up in it. One of the things my brother does with his 12 and 8-year-old daughter that does allow them time with their phones and their tablets is that he puts there's a timer that's on their device, and it literally shuts the device down during certain times. So I just think that there are things that we can do as fathers, as parents in general, to help minimize their exposure to social media to the extent that we can, just knowing that they're going to be accessible to the information out there from other people as well.
Well, you're right about that, and I don't disagree with that. I think the most dangerous thing about social media is the profound peer pressure that it has on kids and adults. I've seen equally, and you think like, oh, just kids. I'm like, no. I've seen the peer pressure equally on kids and adults, to the point that with mortality results, to the point that, and I think Dr. Nobel, and I always quote this, Dr. Nobel said it best, people would rather be infamous than ignored. I think that thing works the same for adults as well as children, because I've seen children kill themselves on social media as well as adults kill themselves, if not kill somebody else on social media. So the peer pressure of social media is horrific, because you get the world gets to watch you. And again, people would rather be infamous and ignored. And I think the greatest thing in the world, I guess, be it social media or not, and it's timeless, is the fact that nobody really wants to be ignored. And so I think that social media, back to Gene's point, can be the tool or the weapon, right? But I think lonely and isolation becomes the root cause, right? So, and I mean, anybody that does mental health, they'll tell you, anybody with a mental health experience, mental health issues, the first thing they tell you to do is get the gun. The training tell you to get the firearms out of the house. They didn't say get that. They didn't say lock them up. They say get the firearms out of the house, because the danger of whatever peer pressure. And back to that rabbit hole you guys were talking about, that peer pressure can lead to that, because again, you don't know the thoughts of that particular person, and you have people that can, especially when they're the most friendliest, and when people decide they want to commit suicide or even homicide, they have a moment of clarity where they're the most friendliest, so they want to. It's a certain time they'll treat you a certain way that you know that's like, wow, they're probably having a really good day, right? And what they're doing is they done came to resolve that, you know what, I'm going to do this thing today. And so their way of saying goodbye is to try to give you the best day of your lives before they actually take their lives. So they'll go completely out of character, like going from 0 to 100, where this person, they didn't get to like, 1, 2, 10, 20, 30. They just went from 0, and all of a sudden the next day they came to 100. You getting all this love and stuff like that and appreciation, not knowing that they were going to do what they're going to do. And simply most of the time, and if not more than half of the time, they do it on social media. So that's the pros and cons of it from my standpoint, but I'm open to hear anybody else. So thank you.
Lightborn, I'm glad you said that, because that also, it made me think of social media, right? So it does a few things. I'm gonna tell you and I'm gonna go back to something that Ron was saying, how people just flip real fast through the screens, right? Through what they're looking at. That's because social media they set themselves up because they understand that your attention span, everyone has a short attention span, and it's getting shorter and shorter with every generation because they're looking for more instant gratification. So if I can't catch you within the first 5 seconds of you flipping something by something, and they'll tell you when you're talking about advertising, you're talking about branding, especially on social media, you got to make it flashy. You got to make it so they stop it so they can see what you want to say, so you can grab them. And if you can grab them with the visual, then you grab them with the verbal, and then you got them. So that's the whole idea behind the branding when it comes to social media. And so if you're not catching them real fast, they're going to keep scrolling, like Ron was saying. And something that Lightborn said is important to understand, especially with the social media, is if I'm constantly looking at social media at people, they're always posting happy times. There's very rare that people are posting sorrow and sadness. And then what happens is you're looking at all these happy people and trying to compare it to your own life, saying, man, they're traveling, they're doing all this. Man, how come I can't get that? What's wrong with me? How come I can't achieve that? And so you fall into that mindset, especially if you're depressed already, you fall into that mindset. And so it's funny because when people do post sadness on social media, they're shunned for it. Why are you coming on here and crying? Why is it that no one wants to hear about that tragedy? No one wants to hear about, so it's almost as if you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? And so when you start to, especially when you get depressed and you start to look at certain things, and that's why it's important to understand how social media works and the algorithms, because if I'm depressed and I start looking at things that are depressing, it's going to start showing me more things that are that it thinks that aligns with the way I think and feel. And I'm going to see more sad things, more depressing things, more things that's going to just keep driving me down until the point, like Boyne says, well, I'm gonna have that clarity and be like, you know what, this world isn't worth it, man. I'm just gonna end it. And so that's the things that you have to really be mindful when you're educating, like Gaspar was saying, and thank you for clarifying what I was trying to say, because it's the education of the social media that you have to do with the kids, not so much teaching them how to use it, but teaching them the purpose of it and how not to get dragged in to the negative side of it. You know what I'm saying? And so understanding how to educate them and saying, hey, you know what, depending on what you see, it's, first of all, what you see may not always be reality, right? Because I know that when I start flipping and I'm like, man, you know what? Let me learn about some investment stuff. All of a sudden I get advertisement of people in Bentleys, people in Rolls Royces, people in Phantoms, people in all these with 15 Maseratis lined up behind them, talking about, yeah, I can teach you how to get this wealth, while none of them are really wealthy. So you fall into that whole thing. So it's educating them to understand not everything you see is real. First of all, be careful what you decide to, pin yourself to, because it'll always continue to show you that stuff. And another thing is, I think what someone said on here was monitor the social media. Become your kids' friends on social media. That was one of the rules that I had when my son first got on social media was, you've got to friend me because I want to see what's going on. I'm not going to sit there and monitor you every day, but I want to see what's being posted. And I also had access to his phone. And so I was like, I'm going to randomly pick up your phone just to see what you're doing. You don't know when, but I'll ask you for the phone and I'll look through it. And that's it. So I think it's always educating and putting stuff in place.
Yo, but our kids are so smart though, man. They even got, I'll let you go, like, well, they even got a trick to that, Gene. Like, they got a, what's the fake Instagram called? Like, they got that hidden Instagram. It's not Instagram, but you can, like, the kids got another Instagram thing that they have that you don't have access to, that they hide. And
it's called a spam page.
I know what you're talking about, Gaspar. Yeah. But here's the thing.
Travis, it's called what?
A scam page.
Scam?
It's called a spam page. Spam page,
right? And I was like, what is this? So I remember flipping in my daughter's phone one day and I was like, yo, this ain't Insta. What is this? What is this gram? She's like, oh. And all of a sudden the pictures are there that are not on her regular Instagram that I was following. And I got to the point now, I mean, she's grown, so I definitely don't follow her because there's stuff that man, I'd be mad as hell, all the time. Like, that's my baby.
And Gaspar, I'm gonna tell you, for me, I was just a different type of parent. I knew my kids' friends, right? A lot of times parents don't learn the friends of their kids, right? I didn't like them on social media, but some kids aren't smart enough to lock their social media, like set it to private, they just let stuff. So you can always see especially when so that's another algorithm that social media has, that when you become your friends, you're the friend of somebody, the friend of theirs pops on your timeline to say, hey, you have someone mutual. You have this, you have that, right? The thing I would do is, hey, what are you tagged in? Because you can't, it's one thing to have that page, and I get that, but then it's also thing, you have to educate yourself to keep up with the young kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know, like people can download apps that are vaults on their phone. So I have a vault on my phone that all my real pictures are in that no one can access, and it's a hidden under a different app that looks like the app will say like I'll just use Temu for example. The app will read Temu. So you're like, oh, that's a shopping app. But that's really where all the secret stuff is under that app while you're looking at the photos that are Google Gallery. You see what I'm saying? So it's a matter of keeping yourself. You also have to keep up with the younger kids, especially if you have young kids now at this day and age, because not only is social media running rampant, AI is going up there too.
Right.
So once that AI starts to hit, it's going to be a completely different world, because you can see the changes that are happening now with just that little bit of AI that they're using. So it's gonna really change the field.
Yeah, I think you guys with the social media education, I think the only thing that needs to be taught to our kids really, and what you're actually talking about, is the socialization skills. And so I think most of the interaction on social media is artificial until it becomes real anyway. That's for children as well as adults. I mean, if you look at the 22-year-old girl who was obviously isolated, functioning as an adult, but so much on social media, her rabbit hole is she went back down into a kids type world. And so so much so till she started pretending to be a child. And then she became a child, and then she became a pedophile. You got to become a child first to think that you're equal to the 12 and 14-year-olds that she was preying on, and very attractive looking girl. And again, with the absence of socialization in your life, you go to work and the only socialization you have is social media. That will become weird. And I've seen that become weird to a lot of professional, and because we believe in the kids. I'm like, no, that's dangerous for most human beings. I'm talking about, you had rocket scientists. I mean, you got me really legitimate. You had people who work for the government. They was arrested and going and picking them up for different social media or cyber crimes. And so with those cyber crimes, I'm like, what the cyber crimes do is the same thing money do. What we call money, because we call money access. And so same thing with cyber social media or cyber crimes, it gives you access in your private life. And so you get to really enhance a thing that you wouldn't normally do in your public life. You see how I do? And so what that social media, and I blame social media 50% of that, because it actually filters in. So I'm like, well, this is a two-way street. How is it legal for them to gain access to this stuff? You understand? And so it's like the social media become the drug dealer, and whatever you're addicted, all the people that's addicted to social media is the drug user. And so we're going to find out which is, because mental health is always slow, and science is always, well, some science that make money, people that make money off of the popular science, that's fast. All the science that's really matter is extremely slow. So 10 years later, they're going to be coming up with therapy for everything we're talking about right now, right? Right now it's criminal, right? You lock up enough of, let me just say, you lock up enough of the right people, then what is criminal now becomes therapeutical. Because when it becomes your son that has to face the criminal charge, or the cyber charge, or the social media charge to become criminal to, then you want to say, oh, you know what? Maybe it is a problem, because now your son have a problem, or your daughter have a problem. And so now it transformed from criminal, because right now they're doing a lot of criminal stuff to social media. It's criminal to do this, do that, until it's their son. And now all of a sudden it's not criminal no more, it's therapeutical. You understand? And so it's it's the people with the right addictions, or the right people with the addictions, which changes the laws and the way we approach, the way we should be treating this addiction that's obvious, because all of us have it. I have it myself. I'll be at the table too. You're talking about the kid, all of us be at the table, and we out. They on their own, my own. And the pro of that is I get to keep up on social events, so when they open their mouth about something, or a certain clip or something like that, or a current affair or current event, because they do that in school. And so most of your current events it's not going to come through the newspaper, it's going to come through social media. And I'm finding out that the credible newspaper actually follows social media. Matter of fact, social media get most of the story before the newspaper. They better journal. social media and all that stuff and technology is really killing and transform the way we actually do media, period. You talk about all the media conglomerates, they had to actually follow the trend now, and they had to actually adapt. That's how powerful this thing is. But I am not going to really demonize it because I see both the pros and the cons in it. We just have to figure out how can we get more pros than cons out.
It's funny that you said that, like one, because, well, I'm gonna back up to something you said about the pedophilia, because someone was recently arrested because what they were doing was they were AI generating kids' bodies, right? Taking pictures of kids on the street and then putting those faces onto those bodies. And so it was a man who was doing it, and then he was arrested for child pornography. So, like you said, the times are changing on what they're doing, and through social media, a lot of this stuff is being, put front and center. I think my whole thing with social media is everyone wants to be the journalist. No one wants to be the person taking action. Because sometimes you're watching social media and you're like, everybody has a camera out. The man's on the floor bleeding. You're like, who called 911? So that's where the perils of social media comes in, because everyone's, like you said, someone said earlier, everyone wants to be the one who's getting the accolades. So.
Well, I mean, I just want to bring it back to, for parents to really think about, and again, in the therapeutic world, we are starting to see research about social media, cell phone addiction. It's starting to show up, right? But I want people to be mindful about, it's not social media that's the problem, it's the addiction that's the problem. Because addiction leads to being addicted. And if you're not going to get social media, you're going to get something else to make up for this, and if you sit in enough, and again, many of you guys may have not, but I sit in many of them, AA, NA meetings, when you sit there, every one of, most of the time when people are talking about, being an addict or being alcoholic or what have you, they have accepted that that's what they are. The goal is for them to be able to manage that and control and not find themselves in the place doing the activities, but they already know it's in them. And so that is, I think the biggest part right now that people are really concerned about in the research aspect and I won't even say in mental health, just in research of social media problems, is that kids, and I'm even seeing it firsthand. I'm just saying what I see firsthand. Instruction is given, the phone is there, the actual lesson is there. The kids will make a decision if we say, oh no, put the phone away, get your lesson, get the phone away, and it's like they put it away and they didn't take it right back out. It's almost it is a very scary dynamic. Because I'm not saying it's really the social media, because there are kids in the school who are very versed on social media and know all the stuff going on, but they ain't never pulled their phone out one time. Right? They are using the phone, managing it in a way where when they move out into the hallway or they go out in the hall and not in the class during instruction time, they use their phone, they check out whatever they're checking out. And then when they know the time, it's about time and place. They're using it in time and place. But we as the parents, as the models, are not doing that. We'll take our family to dinner and everyone is on their phone. No parent says, hey, we're not using no phones, put the phones away. We're not doing it. We're just saying we're letting whatever happen, and then turning around and saying, oh, I can't understand why my child is being exposed to things that I know nothing about. I can't understand why my son and daughter having problems focusing on anything longer than 15 seconds or 30 seconds. Well, I don't understand why they can't hear me give them directions and follow the directions, because they're starting to, I mean, listen, we as content creators, we are lucky that we're not, a lot of the content creators on this same platform are becoming content creator bodies. Their bodies are even morphing into a person who is getting somewhat overweight, if they have headphones on, they're getting dents, increases in their head because they are doing these things all the time. They're not regulating, not managing, not placing time what they need to be doing. And this is something as parents we just need to be focused on. We don't need to take it away. We don't need to ban. But we need to be able to like with most things as parents, put policy and procedure. That's what I used that word today when I was speaking. Put our own family policy and procedures in place. But here it is. And here's what I always said about parents and discipline. You can't, it doesn't work today. It worked for me. Do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work today. It doesn't work yesterday when I didn't want to cut the air conditioner on in the classroom and I had 6 students come to me and ask me, everyone trying to debate me of why it's hot in here? Why can't we cut that? And I'm telling them that the policy, the procedure, the rule told me do not. Oh, and then I told them, listen, you ready? If y'all want the air conditioner on, this is what you do. Sit down, write a letter to the principal saying, we would like to have our air conditioner on in our class because it's hot. You give me enough of those, I'll take it down. And now this is academic. This becomes a teaching moment. Well, you think anybody did that? No. And eventually, guess what happened? I went and cut that. So I myself didn't stay in the court, and it's very difficult because at some point I was like, what difference it make? Okay, y'all want to be the air conditioner ain't even, and I was telling them because the air conditioner ain't even gonna cool up the whole room like you want it to. It's a hot day out. But here it go. So I don't have to keep getting nagged and aggravated and you guys just detracting from the academics that we're really supposed to be doing. So you're having a full debate with me about why you can't cut the air conditioner on and we can't get the reading done. We can't get the writing done. We can't get the question. We can't get the lecture done because that has took precedence. And I call all of that avoidance. I use cell phone use. All of it is avoidance from something that they maybe not want to do because they will put their phone down if it's something else they want to do that the phone is not that important. So it isn't.
I want to get LJ's point of view on this. You know, he a seasoned individual. What are your thoughts on this, brother LJ?
Got a flip phone though.
Say what?
You only got a flip phone.
What's wrong with that?
LJ ain't got no flip phone. You got a regular phone.
First of all, I wanted to address the box because earlier you mentioned that that they have ways to shut off the cell phone signal with this box. The problem with that is that it also shuts off the signal for the adults. It's not just the kids. Okay, that's the reason you don't have the box. Okay, now if there was a way that you could get around that, I'm sure that you would see one in every school. But I think when it comes to social media, that social media, what it has done is just speeded up the rate of communication and our access to communication and the way that we interpret, digest, and disseminate information. There's good and there's bad to that. Good part is that you know things quicker, you can react quicker and do things a lot easier in many cases. The bad part about it is just that it's just like you have information, you can have disinformation. And that's where it becomes an issue for our kids because you hear many of the opinions of our children. You say, where did you get that from?
Yeah.
You know, what? And that's so crazy. You know, my son came up now because now, for example, I've always loved the stock market. Many years, 30, 40, 50 years. Love the stock market. Taught my son about the stock market. Okay. But the stock market is such that it's a slow process. It's a building process that takes time over time, 30, 40 years to get to your fortune. What he has gotten hooked on is foreign exchange, Forex.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's to me, that is disinformation because what Forex is, you can get rich overnight. You can just buy these coins, and I don't have anything against Bitcoin. I don't have anything against Ethereum and any other coins or Forex. The problem is there is no getting around the system. They made the system. They're gonna have this. It's gonna be a certain way that you gotta make money in the system. Now, if you think you can get away with it, you're gonna be wrong. But they give you all this information, and so I can sell you a course to show you how. And so they end up making money off the course. They don't make money off the product. And I think that's where we get into a real bad cycle with our kids, just the disinformation that they receive.
I would like to say,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a quick one. To add to the conversation, flip phones. Everyone in this room know flip phones, right? So what is the advantage and the disadvantage of a flip phone? Let's look at it this way. You have a child. The child goes to school. Every home should have some form of discipline. The flip phone goes to school in the week. You get the phone with social media on the weekends. The flip phone can be used in many different ways because most of us adults here are addicted to the phones. I can say that. I'm not afraid to say it. Mind you, I do business on the phone, but even then, I'm still on the phone, right? So the flip phone can also be used again to take a break for adults on the weekends. If you want a break, you say, I'm going on the road with my lady, or I'm going to chill for an hour. I don't want my social media phone. I just want a flip phone where you can receive a call. It may cost you extra $20, or you can tie it to your phone. But that flip phone can also be used to give all of us, the child and the parent, a break. Because most times, let's be honest, the child is copying the mom or the father. As I think Ron said, you go to the restaurant, you see both parties or all parties are involved with the phone. Yeah? Now, let's move on to consequences. We know that being on the phone can give you myopia. It can affect a child's development, especially if a child spends extended period of time on the phone.
What's the word you used?
Myopia.
Myopia. Is that MYCOPIA?
Yes, similar to that. I don't want to be exact, but that's a term that is used by being on the phone for an extended period of time and can affect their eyes. And even us adults, it can affect us because we know we're talking about what? Dry eyes. Many of us may be familiar with that term. The phone can also do that. So there's so many different scenarios here. Technically, you should be on the phone 2 hours a day on any form of social media. We are in a crisis mode today. Many folks spend, we're talking maybe up to 5-6 hours on the phone or on the computer per day. That's dry eyes right there, myopia. I had a nurse at my job, and whenever I see her, her head is down. So her head is at I wouldn't say 90 degrees, 180 degrees. So I went on her and I said, can I touch you? And I felt a bone in the back of her neck. Because what happened, she's bent over all the time looking at the phone. You could actually, there's a bone, like a protruding out her back of her neck. And I said, what is it? She said, I don't know. I said, because your head is always down. You need to hold the phone upright so your neck can stay straight up. So you can actually look at the phone. There are consequences to our behaviors. And I'm just talking about a bone. You can look it up and see what that is, but be very careful, yeah? And my daughter said to me, Daddy, I'm 17. Why are you taking the phone away from me? My friends, their parents allow them to keep the phone. I said, what do you mean? Well, I'm not a baby anymore. I'm 17. Why do I have to put down the phone at 8 o'clock at night? So I said to her, she asked me a question, and so as a parent, I need to respond. Yeah. So I stop, think, observe, and proceed. You know that stop sign, that sign, stop, think, observe, and proceed. So I stop, think, I observe, and then I'm go ahead and proceed. I said to Annalise, if everyone smokes at the school, are you going to come and tell me that everyone smokes? And because everyone smokes, you should smoke too? Not because everyone is doing it, that means it's right. And sometimes doing right is hard. I can say that personally. Doing wrong is easy. Think about it.
Yeah.
So I said to her, I still ask her to put the phone down. Put the phone down at nights, because when you put the phone down at night, it gives you a chance to, one, rest your eyes, and budget your time. Now, I'm a divorced father, so obviously the child doesn't spend all the time with me. So when I ask her, why don't you ask your mom? You know what she said to me? Well, mom is always on the phone. So every situation is going to go the best you can. But as a father, I think we should try and do the right thing. And again, the right thing may not be in style, but that is our goal. Yeah. Today I'm on the road, I'm on the job. This girl driving with a CRV, that girl was on the phone. She did not see me. She was literally driving and had her head on the phone. So this is a big problem. But can we fix it? Some guys in this room may have a suggestion. I mentioned the flip phone. Maybe we need to budget our time. But this is a big, big problem with the phone, to be honest with you guys.
Well,
So
even with
let me throw something out there. Let me just throw a doomsday, because this is what I think about probably more than anything, and I think about this about everything, probably not just phones. I think about it every day that I operate, and I know that technology is key. Technology is to the advancement, and everything is being used. But it scares me very often. And maybe I might not see it. I'll probably be dead in the grave or whatever, when technology fails. And what do people do who have become only attainable, accessible, are available to even maneuver life through technology? What happens to them? And what they don't have an alt switch. There's no alt for them. It's, oh my God, the phone doesn't work. What do I do? I remember the movie, the TV show, and electricity went off. It was on NBC. And the lady was walking around with a cell phone, and the person said, why are you always walking around with a cell phone? Because that cell phone was the only pictures of her kids was on the cell phone. But because there's no electricity, she never was able to charge the phone. So she don't have any access to ever see the pictures again. You know, and I know this seems doomsday-ish, like this might not happen, but I seen it happen one time. I seen it happen in Jacksonville, and it was early. It was like 2000. It was like 2005, 2006. There was an accident, and all electricity went off in part of the city, and people were frantic. They lost. And not the whole city, just one area of the city. And because electricity and all that was off, they didn't know what to do. Now, I just came back from St. Lucia, where water was maybe some days, electricity in your home was some days, because anything could happen, and you just kept on, you didn't stop. People didn't stop. So I was like, what y'all crying about electricity not being on? Let's just gather, let's continue to talk, let's go on the porch and sit out there and finish talking. Oh no, the food in the fridge. Listen, let's just go get some ice. You know, that's not the end of the world. But if many of us begin to have all technology, and we see that, and again, you see this in your car. People got roll up and roll down windows versus the electronic window.
Yes, I have one. I have one.
Yeah, listen, the electronic windows don't stop working. You stop and hop in the putt. You want to break the window. It's just little things like that we have to think about, and we have to prepare our kids. As much as we give them that technology and let them use it and idolize it, we also need to be giving them a safety plan. Like, what do you do? What do you do if you can't just do the technology thing? You just stand there and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Ron, that is.
Go ahead, as an adult. Travis, go ahead. I know you've been waiting. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll come after you.
Honestly, I always like to sit back and listen to the conversation, just to get the feel of what's going on. Just about social media itself. I mean, I have two boys, and one thing about me and my house, after certain school days, they are off the phone after 5 o'clock. Literally, they got from when they get out of school about 3 o'clock, they got 2 hours to be on the phone. After that, they go figure out something else to do. And I mean, honestly, it was a transition because I tell them go get a book. You know, like right now, kids don't even read books no more. Like they go get a book or go play outside or do something extra than get on the phone. And I mean, it was almost like my kids had headaches and stuff like that because they all glued into taking that moment to get into social media or whatever. And mind you, that's one thing. My kids don't have social media. The only thing that they all on YouTube. We're not allowing them to get on any accounts to Facebook, YouTube. I mean, all the other stuff we're not allowing that. I got a 9-year-old and I got a 12-year-old, and that's just something that I know that's not needed. I don't know if y'all know, but they're actually setting a regulation. I mean, almost like a law that kids are not allowed to even have social media. I was listening to that recently. So they're trying to pass that law, but at that being said, people make false their ages and stuff like that. But it's a lot. Social media, and honestly, and I'm gonna say this and I'm done, but I've learned one thing about social media. Kids in particular, and some people as well, they want to know the truth. I think when you've been told lies all your life and you get some type of truth, you know what I mean? Like social media and all that, it gives you almost like real truth. Like, oh my God, I ain't know that. Now I know that. That's why people are all a part of these weird things that goes on, because everybody wants to know the truth. Everybody wants to know the secret, whatever it is. And that's what that social media does. It gives you people this false truth that's not really true, but just it fills that void that they're looking for. Because let's be honest, like when I was growing up, like you didn't really get told the truth. You only get told what you need to know, and it's like you'll find out when you get older what the truth really is. But now kids want to know the truth from the get-go, and that's the thing that social media feeds.
And that's what parents got to do. Get the truth. Listen, I tell you, I hate to say this, I get the truth as a grown man every time I ask my dad something. He don't sugarcoat. He tell me exactly what he really believes the truth is. And I realize as we have that experience as grown men, I think about how important maybe that experience would have been when I was a younger man, or maybe even a teenager, hearing that. Well, he did, and he didn't. I just didn't see him enough. He told the truth, but his truth was for another reason. His truth was for another reason, not in the healthy reason. He told the truth. Told the truth because he just told the truth. But I think that we have to find a healthy way to expose our kids to what the truth is. Listen, we ain't got money for that. That's why we don't have that. And that's why you have to go to school and work hard so you can get a suitable job, the suitable things, so you can have that what I really can't provide because I didn't have the means. I'm providing the best that I can as a parent. And I'm not going to do some things because it would make us less in other ways. Yes, I could buy y'all the Jordans. I could go to TJ Maxx and get y'all some Air Maxes and for $20. And y'all be look just as fresh, whatever. But I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to, say, oh, you like these shoes? No, you're going to like them because you're going to know that's all we can afford to get. See the difference between bringing you some shoes that you think that I could get a better pair versus me saying, this is what we can afford. So go and pick out whatever you can get in Ross. That's how I ended up learning how to shop. Using my own. This is how I learned how to shop. Get whatever you can. You got $100 to get whatever you can here in Ross. And that's your school clothes, and that's what you get. And so I go through there, to pick out the things that I like. And $100, there go my school clothes. There you go. But I picked them. I got them. But again, and I knew that this was what my mom had, and this is what my mom got. This is what my mom had, and this is what my mom got for us to really. But guess what? I had a better sense of what money was about, and I had a better sense of what I didn't care that other kids had other things. I didn't care that people had felines. You know why I
Right.
didn't care? Because I understood that I took pride in the shoes that I had. I took pride in the clothes that I had. Also made me an individual, not a conformist like everybody else too.
Now,
You
Ron,
definitely not a conformist. You definitely not. Go ahead.
Huh?
Which is a good thing. I said
but
you
you know,
definitely not a conformist, which is a good thing.
we got to clear up some things because we have to, first of all, and I think we as parents, like most parents, and the parents of old, and the parents before our parents, and the parents before our parents, all of us suffer from what they call missed opportunity. Question is why? Why do we suffer from missed opportunity to teach our kids what they really need to know? Well, it's because number one, we want to raise the kids we were. That's number one, which is back to Ron's point. He talked about everything he was. You understand? To try to raise the kid he had. God is not gonna give you that cheat sheet. You're not gonna get to raise the kids you were. That's just not happening. Throw it out the window. It's in the garbage. Get past it. Number two, yeah, missed opportunity when you had I'm like, and I love Ron because Ron, I think he's unconsciously biased when he bring up these scenarios of these apocalyptic scenarios where it puts the man back in at a heroic stance because if you kill all the social media and you kill all the technology, you understand, and you go back to the primitive way of surviving, then it puts the man back where where we're more to the superiorist thing. And so I'm saying it to say this: there's a difference between truth and honesty, right? You know the difference between truth and honesty. Truth is inclusive of everybody. Honesty is always going to exclude somebody. So again, we have to teach. Again, truth.
Give me an example of that. Give me an example of that. I love the distinction you made. Example of that.
Okay, so truth and honor. What's the one thing okay, this is Lionel alone right now. This is strictly from Lionel because I'm glad you asked that because now I get to throw this out. I ain't used this publicly yet, but I'm gonna use it now. What's the one thing that everything have in common?
What's the one thing that everything has in common?
Everything. That's what members of it got to be inclusive of everything. Now, I'm glad you asked that because you kind of really set yourself up for this.
No, I want to know. Go ahead.
Ready? You know what's the one thing that everything have in common factually?
What's that?
One word. Relationship.
Okay.
So I can just drop the mic. I ain't even got no argument. It ain't no debate. I'm like, and if you bring up something, I'm going to give you the terminology of how the relationships give up the baby. Guess what? Explain that thing you get ready to bring up.
So that's the truth.
That's the truth, correct? Because it's inclusive. I said the one thing that everything. So that's true. Now, honesty is that when you think that your side of the story actually brings equity to somebody else, and if your side of the story only brings equity to you and takes equity away from somebody else, that's not true. That's just honesty.
Got it.
And so,
even though it's truthful, you're just being honest, not necessarily. I got it. Okay.
Right. Remember, and the thing about truth, keep on in mind. Always, every time you hear that word truth mentioned, you always hear something. It's always, I don't know if it's an adjective, but you always hear one word in front of it. What that word is. Every time you hear that word truth, you hear one word in front of it. What is that word?
Go ahead. What? The truth.
Now, you know what the word the means?
What's that?
Only. You understand? Missed opportunity. And so I don't think we really have the intimacy and the time that we really want to give what we want to the kids, but I think we give it instinctively and unconsciously because when you teach your kid how to grill, that already prepare him for when the lights go out. They're like, oh, they come up with the solution. Oh, mom, I can grill some hot dogs. So now guess what? They take the responsibility from cooking to you, and then guess what? You're teaching them something else. And you teach them how to fish. And so I think we have a lot of missed opportunities, but I'm going to be honest with you. For the fathers that are teaching their kids how to grill and how to teach them how to fish, I've seen kids grilling and fishing on their own when they're getting their own circle. And then they're teaching other kids how to grill and fish. And because you got to think about it, our kids didn't learn how to grill and fish. You need to see them on their own element. I mean, I see the kids out there. I asked the kid, I said, oh, man, why did you throw that little fish back? I saw the kids, we got a lake by our house, kid fishing. I said, well, why? I said, oh, y'all, the fish too small for you? He said, nah, I don't want the kids. I want the grandmom and the mom and the grandmom of them. And they're the same age fishing. And so I think when we think that we're not giving something intentionally, most parents, I'm like, it's not so much what you're giving intentionally to your kids, it's what you're giving unintentionally to your kids. And that's the thing, because they're picking up what you, but half of the times, the things that you're really teaching them, we never get to see that movie until graduation and stuff like that. But when they own, they hold us in the highest regard, just like we do them. We may not tell them, oh man, you my hero, man, you doing this, blah, blah, blah. But when they're not around, we're bragging to everybody else about them, but to them. And so, I mean, that's just what I wanted to say. But man, I'm just really enjoying this conversation. Man, time really flies.
Well, before we close out,
yeah. you know I'm about to. You about
to wrap it up. Before we close out, I just want to address one of the things, some of the things that was said. I think with Ron, I'm gonna give you a more recent apocalyptic experience. AT&T went out a few weeks ago. Everyone lost their mind. Everybody at work, everyone's like, my phone don't work. Your phone works. Your phone. And I was like, well, I don't have AT&T. Have Metro PCS. Hasn't failed me yet. But but that was symptomatic of what it would be like if it failed, right? Because everyone would lose their mind before they realized that you can go back to something different. And I agree 100% with Lightborn, is that those missed opportunities to teach them, because even and this wasn't kids acting this way, this was adults acting this way. Like their whole world crumbled because their cell phone's not working for 2 hours, right? Right? And so I think it's a missed opportunity for us to teach ourselves so that we can sit back and then teach our kids. So on that, and I think that also when you talk about social media, and just to sum it up, I think a lot of times people on social media a lot because of fear of missing out. Yeah. I want to know what everybody else is knowing, because when people come to me, hey, you know that new TikTok trend? I'm like, no, I'm not on it like that. They're like, you don't know? What you mean you don't know? You didn't see it yet? And it's like, but there are people who need to be in the know and need to have all that information right on hand so they can be part of the group. And I think that's one of the things that really attracts people to that social media aspect, to keep them on it, because you don't want to be the one who doesn't know.
All right, all right. Listen, the day wasn't a good day. I want to say that the day wasn't a good day. I was very almost to a point that I was very disheartened by the students and my involvement with them today. So I have my own class that I work with another teacher. A teacher went out last week, Thursday, because her son had passed. Her classes are there. And, once I found out what it was, I said, well, let's do something. This is me thinking empathy, thinking the way I process is, if these were my students, right, I would hope that they would feel like, oh my God, something happened to my teacher, something happened to a family. I want to. So, the day and tomorrow, I plan to do an activity where they would, they're in a creative writing class. So this is not outside of what they're supposed to do. This is creative writing. I was going to show them how to do empathy writing. They was going to write something, and then we're going to make a card and put what they wrote in the card for the teacher. And then I'll, try to get it to her, and, of a class of 28, 26 kids, 4 kids did it. Wow. The other kids, again, just on their phone, want to do TikTok dances, and I just felt this migraine, because I felt like, hey, it's nothing. I presented it. I did a lesson on it. I showed why it was important. I think I did everything, but they weren't they weren't interested. But they did not stop with their phones. And I almost wanted to say, I wish there was a way I could have programmed something into the phone for this to affect them. But for a lot of kids, we talked about this, about everybody, it is the algorithm that they're on. If they don't get to algorithm things that shows them something different than what they are in a rabbit hole, of, then they're not going to ever get to those places. Only thing they're looking at is fights, TikTok dances, drill music videos. When do they get the other thing? And that again, I say as adults, as the parents, we have to find a way to present those things just to give them some balance of things that is exposing to them. You know, just like healthy eating. I'm trying to get this nutrition to come on to Therapy Thursday so we can talk about the importance of what we put in our diet, what we have, and how it affects our mental health and how it affects our behavior. And someone has to do it. And if you only give your kids Takis and let them eat Takis and sodas, that's the diet. Hot fries, Slim Jims, because I'm thinking of the things that the kids eat. Cheetos, Lunchables. If that is the diet that you allow your children to have and that you want them to have, there's a result. There's going to be a result to that, because they don't buy that stuff on their own. You know, you don't have to teach a kid how to fish. You can just go to fish with your kid, and your kid might like the fish. You might not like fishing, but it's a big difference if all you eating is Jack Daniels and MD 2020.
You mean drinking?
Blunts, Swisher Sweet blunts, because I'm just keeping it real. Listen. I spend so much time seeing things, and I probably need to cut. I need to go blind so I can stop seeing things and stop having to think about them in my brain, because it's almost about to explode. That's probably why I got the gray hair, because I seen her laid out with a little baby, and what she doing? Little baby, look. I seen a man on the train putting some whatever kind of liquid on his Black and Miles, some kind of strange liquid that he's putting on his wetting his Black and Miles up. Y'all know what that means when they wetting whatever they're gonna be smoking. He was wetting it up, and he's sitting on the train with his little daughter who's like 3 years old. Yep. She's observing that. So we have to do better as the parents. We can argue all about what our kids do and what they're supposed to or whatever, but I just have to say that if you don't want addiction to happen, you have to give them something to be better addicted to.
I hear that. They're gonna be addicted.
That's the place. Addiction is not what it is, it's what we have an addiction to. Because there's some people addicted to Jesus. They're addicted to the hard work. They're addicted to
exercise.
Let me not say that money, because that might not be good. Well, listen, let me say this. A really good conversation tonight. I mean, I think that as people are watching, they're going to watch this if they have because I just to give you an update, guys. People watch this for about 2 minutes.
Right.
A lot of people watch, but only 2 people go and watch the whole thing. So can't wait to get this. I think one of the big parts is the plan to get this editor guy, my cousin, who is expert. I talked to him on my birthday. He said, "Yeah, this is what I do, cuz." So I'm going to try to start to get him to look at some of the videos and cut them into the key thing. I mean, try to make sure they don't all be light born. Okay, so light born got all the highlights. Trying to make sure I get. Yes.
There are people who have said to me that we're a bunch of guys who are talking, but keep in mind there are people who may want to talk. So if you could keep in mind, have people email questions, and you could take the last minute and answer the question.
I'm asking those questions and on the live, right? So we have people that's on the live, and as I was just speaking to them, and I say to them, hey, if you have any questions that you want to ask the panel tonight, we welcome those questions. Yep. But I didn't really, I think the person said to me, why? And then I said, why what? And they said, I love it. So I think some people, I know some people want to ask questions, but some people are just very interested in hearing and learning. Because For many instances, we forget that this is not, we are debating, right? We might be debating, but for a lot of people, this is an opportunity for them to learn how we think as men, as fathers. And they don't want to miss something.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want to miss something trying to argue in other settings or trying to, bring that point. I mean, we can set up some things like that and have some seminars and what have you. But I think that this is for education purposes, for people to really get a better understanding of the dynamics of different fathers and how they operate, how they think, coming from all different walks of life and about different topics. And I think that is the most important part of the focus, because I feel if we started, when you start, this is the problem with answer questions, and I deal with it on other shows.
Mhm.
Then you get into who right and who wrong. And no one here is right or wrong. We just, this is just how we perceive and how we see the topic.
Ron, I get that, but keep in mind, the world is out there, and we're talking the world. We have to not necessarily conform, but transform, because there are many, think about it, on that phone, there are many people trying to get your attention. Is that how it works? There are people, I want Johnny attention, I want Lionel attention. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind, that there are many people trying to get that father's attention at that one time. So while we have an open discussion, which is good for educational purposes, the average person who may not be in depth may not sit around to listen to the entire conversation. I'm just putting that out there.
And I'll say this, and that, and I think we could then call it a day. In reference to that aspect, everybody that I think comes to this point is somebody seeking something. I think men, women, children who may come on and log on to this are seeking some information, seeking some direction, some guidance. They see several Black males talking about a topic that to them surprises them, one, because there's Black males talking about the topic, and two, it's something that's relevant to them. So like I said, the people that are going to come on here are people that are seeking this information, seeking guidance. As Ron said, this is an educational thing. I don't think you're looking for people, or let me phrase, I don't think you're going to get people who are just looking to see what these guys are talking about. And then when they hear about it, they're like, oh, yeah, great, I'll stay. No, it doesn't work like that. There's a man who is in a program and he needs to hear this so he can become a better man. Like Travis said, sometimes he just sits there and listens because he wants to hear where we're going with it, the different ideas that we have. So I think it's someone who is actually seeking this is going to get it. And then as they seek it and find it themselves, they're going to invite other people to come in and get the information because they saw how good it was for them. And that's where I think this is going to eventually go. Like anything else, nothing grows and is big overnight. And we're going to look back on all these many years. I can't believe it's been how long, Ron? 3 years of shows?
Yeah, for us. But for some of us, it's been almost
even longer
years now.
What
we going 14, 50 years of these conversations.
When this thing blows up with Fatherhood Think Tank, and people are gonna be like, wow, okay. See, I'm speaking life because I understand this is a process, and we're gonna get them eventually. And it may not, even if it's not here, Oprah gonna invite Ron to come discuss fatherhood events on her show on her own. And then you know what Ron gonna do? Well, I got these brothers who always on my.
Listen, that's how it works. And then next thing you know, it's
across the nation, Rohan. And how many people came to watch it? Exactly. So when it's God's turn to make it work, my brother, it's gonna work. It ain't nothing we gotta do but just keep being consistent and keep bringing the truth to the people and sharing our views on it to help hopefully help somebody become more in tune. And with that said, Ron, take it away.
Yep. And folks, again, like, share, subscribe, join us. We are here tomorrow night to finish this conversation in the man cave, men only, fathers only conversation. With that being said, Father, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
Come on, I say I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am
I
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man
I'm
of
a man of
courage.
courage.
I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I
I
am
am
a
a
man
man
of
of
respect.
respect.
Come on, fathers. I say that I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I say that you are.
You
You
are.
are.
I say that we are.
We
are
are.
Champions
Championship
brothers.
fathers.
Yeah.
Thing.
LJ, Johnny
Yes,
got you.
sir.
Johnny got
You
you.
got me. You got me. You got me. You got me. I gotta work. I gotta work.
Oh man, I am so glad I got back on here today with y'all, man. Definitely enlightening and got my mind going again. Great conversation, bros. It was awesome. And we could talk about social media and its impact is so we could keep going for another 2-3 hours and still not touch everything on this social media thing, man. It is crazy. Like I tell y'all, especially when I'm going to bed at night, I'll start looking at ESPN sports stuff on there. And then it's something about Caitlin Clark. Then I go down that route. Then I see a picture of Angel Reese. That Angel Reese modeling something for somebody clothing line. And I click on the clothing line. And then I see
a professional.
and then the next thing you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, boy, you better close your eyes. And I end up with myopia, like Brother Rohan. And my eyes start watering and I'm getting dry. I'm like, yo, go to bed, Negro. Go to bed. So,
What they recommend for that? Don't put the phone beside your bed. Put the phone on the other side so you can't reach it. It's hard to
you
do.
know what?
Yeah, like I
tried
do.
that, Rohan.
My phone.
All you do is have a farther way to reach.
Rohan is making a really good point. My phone, the charger is near the foot of the bed, closer away from me, right? So what ends up happening is literally I would have to get up to get the phones, and I'm not going to a lot of times get up, and they just gonna just ring. They do whatever they're gonna do, and get them when you're gonna get it.
Hear you on that. I'm about to try that then. I'm about to try that because it ain't working for me.
But Rohan, I wanted to say something.
Yes.
And it goes back to what we were talking about, what they were talking about earlier. When it comes to a product, right? Any product, what you have to remember is everybody is not your customer. A lot of people try to get everybody to be their customer so they can give them the product, but not everyone's your customer. Those who are will be drawn to you because they understand the product and they feel your passion about what you're doing. The rest of them will look at you and keep walking.
That's it. Until everybody else is doing it, then they want your product.
Then they want your product. That's
not
true.
Because it's beneficial to them, but because everybody else is doing it. So at the end of the day, those aren't the people you necessarily want anyway. All right, man. Love y'all, man. Have a great day, fellas.
All right.
See you.
Good night.
All right, man. You guys take it easy.
Everybody